Okay, now I'd like to introduce Luke Sayers. Luke Sayers is the CEO of PwC Australia. He's Vice Chairman for PwC Asia Pacific, and he's a Fellow of Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. Just a little bit about PwC. PwC has operations in 157 countries. Luke might tell me that that's 159, but I see these numbers changing fairly quickly. With more than 195,000 staff working with global, Asian and Australian businesses, governments, high net wealth individuals and entrepreneurs. These numbers might also change, but locally in Australia, Luke leads a team of more than 500 partners and 6,500 staff who are focused on helping Australian businesses solve their biggest problems and adapt to an ever-changing world. Under Luke's leadership, PwC Australia is focused on using the collective expertise of the firm to help address important national issues such as tax reform, Australia's engagement with Asia, and how we can continue to innovate and thrive as a nation. A little bit about Luke, and some of this I found on LinkedIn, some of it I found on CPA Australia's website, and other resources. Luke joined the firm in 1991 as part of the summer vacation program, initially working with clients in the information communication industry. He became a member of what was then known as the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Australia in February 1998. He's been a global relationship partner for some of the firm's largest clients and lived in Washington DC for 5 years before returning to Australia in 2001. Luke has been a member of the Australian leadership team since 2004. He was the tax and legal business leader for 4 years, the markets leader from 2008, and he was appointed National Managing Partner in 2010. Luke commenced his current role as CEO in April 2012. In addition to his work at PwC, Luke has long-term commitments to community organisations and external boards. He's currently on the board of the Carlton Football Club, chairs the Melbourne chapter of the Australian Business and Community Network, as well as not-for-profit organisation Emotion 21. Luke also leads the Victorian branch of the Male Champions of Change. Tonight Luke will reflect on a career as a 25-year-old and share some of his most memorable experiences, hurdles and success stories with you, hopefully assisting you with your own careers, goals and objectives. Please make Luke welcome. Thank you.
Hello. How are we all? We all good? Good now. Any Carlton supporters here? Good. Hold faithful, please. Hold faithful. It's been a very long year. Any Genazzano alumni here? Wonderful school. Fantastic. I also have the great joy of serving on the Genazzano board. Actually, tonight I'm sort of here, and then I go straight from here to a Genazzano board meeting, and then I go to Raheen for a Carlton function. So I will have to get out of here straight afterwards. So I think you should stand up and give these two wonderful women a big round of applause. Because wonderful differences and markets across Asia. If Australia wants a more prosperous future, we need to deepen our economic relationships with Asia. In particular, I call out the ASEAN, Southeast Asian countries. Our iron ore, energy supplies and engineering talent have helped build the greatest spurt in prosperity in human history by helping to lift hundreds of millions of people in Asia out of chronic poverty through economic development. Billions more technologically enabled consumers will join the middle class in the coming decades. As Asian nations restructure their economies and with the resources-led construction boom well and truly behind us, the challenge is to figure out how we can be part of the ongoing development of the region. How are Australians and how is Australia relevant to Asia? But despite our geography and evolving population, just 9% of Australian businesses have just 28 billion invested in ASEAN, compared to 46 billion invested in New Zealand. This is our chance, and I do believe this is our future. If I were in my 20s again, I would truly be embracing the Asian opportunity. You guys are at the beginning of your professional journey, and sometimes the beginning is the hardest part, but it's also probably the most exciting part, with definitely the most potential and the most upside. You have the world literally at your feet. There is no better place to be. I would like to leave you with a final quote by the American Maxwell Maltz, who said, "Often the difference between a successful person and a failure is not one's better abilities or ideas, but the courage that one has to bet on his idea, to take a calculated risk and to go for it." I wish you nothing but the best in your careers. Go for it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. A fantastic commentary, and being 25 was a little while ago for me, and I'm learning, so thank you very much. That's really thought-provoking. So what I'm interested is if any of you have any questions. We have an amazing opportunity to ask Luke direct questions now. So if you would raise your hand, we'll get a roving mic to you. No roving mic. If you could just speak up loudly, yes please. And then if you could raise your hand after this gentleman, then Luke, and we'll move around the room. Thank you.
Hi Luke. My name is Nitin. So today's topic was if you were 25. So if I go a bit ahead in the future, if you were 65. So what's after?
I'm not that old.
I mean, what do you look for in future? Is it philanthropy or becoming the president of Asia? I mean, do you have a set goal? So as you said, 20s is the age to explore, but isn't 45, 50 good enough to be a CEO?
So I think you're asking me whether I'm on the downward slope or the upward slope.
Probably.
So I am into my 4th year as the CEO at PwC, and I can do 8 years. And so from a PwC perspective, I'll be 48, 49, and it'll be time for me to sort of wish the firm well and pass it to the next leader to grab it and take it to the next level. So I haven't spent a lot of time thinking past then, not out to 65, other than I hope I'm still here. But my sort of approach to these things is at PwC I'm trying to make the organisation the best that it can be. I'm trying to get the organisation to play a bigger role in helping Australia be the best Australia can be. And when I finish at PwC, I'll sort of cross that bridge when it comes. I'm not somebody who is structured and plans, and I'm probably the antithesis of everything that they taught me during my PY. But life changes, and the world's changing at such a pace. I'll look at it and I'll make the calls at that period. As long as I'm learning, I'm being challenged professionally, and I'm making a difference, then I'll go and that'll attract me. 65, I hope I've got wonderful grandkids. I've got 4 daughters from the age of 14 through to 10, so 14, 13 and 11 and 10. We've got a place in Italy, in Lucca, in Tuscany, and my wife and 4 daughters are living there for the year, this year, and so I'm doing my job sort of commuting back and forth from Italy a little bit at the moment, and I'm encouraging my girls to love life and to soak in life not in a Hawthorne bubble sense where we live, but in a true global sort of sense. And so by 65, I'm hoping that they've got that mindset and they're loving whatever they're doing and they've got great families and life is good. So that's probably about as much as I can paint for being 65. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Marco from EY, which is a obviously PwC.
Who?
EY. I knew that at the door. Nonetheless, you have achieved a lot by, I'm assuming, 41 you became the CEO of PwC. That's pretty impressive. What reasons do you give for that achievement?
So thank you, and EY are an outstanding firm. What do I put to that? I put a lot of luck. I think in any career there's luck that definitely plays into it, and timing that definitely plays into it. I put wonderful mentors and coaches, through my career, whereby things get tough and you confront it with challenge and adversity, and you turn to people that you just really respect their wisdom and their counsel, and they help you through. Accounting, we did a survey, and I think accounting was number one to be disrupted. You should feel good about that. Your change journey's just getting going. Quite seriously, you've got to lean into it and go with an open mind. But accounting is the number one industry in the planet that is going to be disrupted, is being disrupted. Right? So don't rest on sort of your laurels that you can sort of match up the debits and credits, and you can sort of understand those sorts of things, which are all important building blocks. But focus on the things that I outlined today. Your ability to adapt and change, your ability to build relationships and networks, your ability to learn and relearn and fail and learn. And accounting is being disrupted today. Today, PwC is 6,500 people, and we're pushing up to 1.8 billion in turnover. We are 40% bigger than the next closest competitor in Australia. I can see a world whereby we are 3 billion in turnover, and maybe we have about 4,000 people. Okay? Not 6.5. So potentially sort of a third less, with another $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion on the top line. We'll be into using robots. We'll be into offshoring, outsourcing. We'll be into leveraging technology wherever in the cloud. It will not just be a people business. And so those people that exist in services firms are not going to be the ones that can just do tons of amazing repetitive tasks. That's all gone. Okay? It's not gone today, but in your mind you should think that it's gone. But the higher value analysis, insight, relationship, building, business development, all of those higher order skills are going to be the ones that probably will not be replaced through this digital revolution. But everything else will be, and it'll be done for about a tenth of what it costs with regard to headcount today. We will have huge variable workforces whereby they're not on our payroll, but we'll bring in 70-year-old people if they've got the expertise to work on a project, and then they'll leave. There'll be huge variable workforces, young people, old people, different people, whatever it is, to be able to provide a world-class answer. And that will be sort of the model of the future. So the Institute and the CPA's foundational elements are absolutely pivotal. Don't get me wrong on that. Great grounding, hard skills. But if all you've got is the hard skills, I'd probably say you're dead for the future. Because you must be able to build those other skills and capabilities as you, bless you, as you move through your careers. So when people ask me from time to time, hey Luke, you've got 4 daughters, what do you want them to be accountants? And what do you want for them? I say whether accountant or what have you, I would be saying get on health. I think health as an opportunity is immense over the next 50 years. I'd say get on digital health and social infrastructure and hospitals of the future and care of the future. I'd say be bloody good on your science, technology, engineering and maths, the STEM suite of hard skill sets. Love design and design of the future, especially technology design, and have a global mindset with amazing business acumen. And if you can somehow sort of have all that, I think you're going to have an amazing career. So if you did your STEM subjects, then you did your PY or your CPA accreditation, and now you're sort of leaning into health and technology and building your business and global acumen, I think you're well and truly on the way. And I just encourage you to keep riding that way. This lady here.
Oh, thank you. Great questions and answers so far.
Don't stuff it up. Terrific question. So our profession and our firm, I think, say this to partners, do not have the leadership position that we would want. And to be honest, I'm embarrassed by the profession and I'm embarrassed by PwC. We are absolutely serious about this as an enabler to the potential of PwC, but it's diversity and inclusion in a holistic sense, not just about gender. It is about gender, it is about diverse cultural background, it is about age, it is about LGBTI, it is about disability, it is about the holistic way of looking at diversity and inclusion. And it's probably fair to say that the men of the last hundreds of years in Australia built a system which is very biased and very protective of mainly white Anglo men. And so for that system to change, white Anglo men really need to change it. It won't be changed from the outside, in my personal opinion. So from my perspective and PwC's perspective, this goes back to, if you want to create the best answers and the best things in life, they're going to come from difference. They're not going to come from one mind or one person that has had limited experiences. It's going to come from different experiences whereby you can harness the power of difference. So this is about trying to get all of the difference to work together, not to judge and to be fixed in a belief or a mindset, but about truly opening oneself up and learning from one another, getting it all on the table and then making a call on a decision or building on the various insights and perspectives people have. This is not just some sort of, from my perspective within the firm, not some social justice sort of exercise. Yes, I do have a social justice bent, but I truly believe that you should do the right thing always, but also to be able to get the power of the firm or community behind it, it must also create sustainable competitive advantage, because not everybody will want to play their role if it's just the right thing to do. So the way in which we look at it is difference creates sustainable competitive advantage, and encouraging difference is the right thing to do, and especially given that we are the leading professional services firm in the country, we've got an obligation, a responsibility to do what's right. So a couple of things that we have done. I've set up an external diversity advisory board, whereby I've got world leaders that sit on that board that come from a number of the different networks in Australia. And by network I mean I have a person who represents sort of the Asian belief system and Asian experience, Asia being China in this context. I have another person that represents broader diverse cultural backgrounds, not white Anglo. I have the leader of the UN Women. I have Paul Zara, who's an openly gay guy that used to run David Jones. I have an Aboriginal who used to run the Diversity Council of Australia. And I've got a wonderful blend of advisors that are helping our organisation lean in to this opportunity. And it's massively hard. And the reason I say that is that most people don't behave consciously on this topic. Most people behave with unconscious bias, and they do things or say things or make decisions that they actually don't quite realise they're doing. And you know, we need to be comfortable talking about that and learning from it. And so we've had all the partners and all the senior staff trained with unconscious bias, and we are openly talking through the challenges and the issues as an organisation as we continue to try and change our culture. We've also set targets for the firm, basically a 40-40-20 target with regard to promotion of women into manager, senior manager, director and partner. So 40 must be 40% women, 40% men, and then the floating 20% can be either women or men. But there is a floor with regard to all partner admissions, or director admissions, senior manager and manager admissions. We, in addition to that, at all salary reviews across the firm and promotion conversations across the firm, we have an independent person that basically is a part of that process to basically call out unconscious bias, and has the D, in our speak, the decision rights, when for the majority, the male, the white Anglo men sort of say A, B, C, D, that's the decision. That person has the ability to say, well, you're operating with nothing but bias here, and this is why, and have you considered A, B, C, D? And if they can't come to agreement, it bubbles up to me. So we're doing a number of tactical things. It's not going to change overnight because it is an unconscious bias that most of us bring to it. But I'll tell you, it's sustainable competitive advantage. And Australia is changing. I had dinner with Ian Narev from the CBA last week, and Ian and I were talking about the number of customers that today will not do business with you if you do not have a team that is either led or has a woman on that team. And that's finding its way into procurement discussions. It's finding its way all through business, and that is because no disrespect guys, but women are amazing. And no disrespect Anglos, but other cultural backgrounds are amazing. And how do we try and get all of that through our system? Australia will only be relevant in Asia if it brings all of that to the table. So keep going, being taught that mainly the 8 organisations that we recruit from really haven't changed since I went through. And to be very blunt about it, a lot of people come out of those courses and then it takes a year, 2 years of sort of training, plus then the professional year and the CPA, and then, you know what, they're in the game. But that's crazy. That's crazy. Now, it's maybe good for the CA, but from a commercial perspective, that's crazy. I feel like another university, right? So we've got to change that model, right? And it's not just services firms, it's Australian business is saying for the majority, you need to change what you're teaching and how you're teaching. Not just what, but also how. So yes, we are trying to work with the universities. One of the boards that wasn't mentioned that I also sit on is the Monash University board. And it's hard work to change academics' perspectives on what should be taught and how it should be taught, but we're chipping away and chipping away. And this goes to sort of my sort of thoughts before. Too many people get locked on a mindset, I know best. I've done it this way, I've done it this way for 5, 10, 20 years, I know what's best, I can't change. Well, that's fine if the world doesn't change, but the world is changing at a pace, and you can't have people coming out that have been taught the wrong stuff and also not really taught in today's way, i.e. it's not about rote learning, it's about engagement, conversation and dynamic learning and action learning, not theoretical learning. So long work in progress, but the whole thing needs to be designed from the back end to the front end, right? Not from the front end to the back end. All right, this lady up the back.
Yep. Thank you a lot for this opportunity, and big thanks to Luke not only because he's taking the time to come up here and share with us his experience, but also because of his continuous contribution and help to the growth of the young professional. I remember 2 years ago at the one of the courts in Melbourne University, I was actually literally sharing an ice cream with Luke. As he do. I think I did. And with that, but that said, sure, you can take this one. Very relevant and specific questions to you.
So growth-oriented mindset, I'll give you one practical example in the context of diversity and inclusion. And I think, give me a round of applause, that was great. I hope I didn't drop the ice cream. I'll do anything. So this was an unconscious bias and the growth mindset in the context of Asia. So I brought an Asian partner onto a leadership team at PwC, and every meeting I would turn up and we would have a conversation as a group of leaders, and this young gentleman would never speak. And I got more and more frustrated and formed a mindset, you know what, he's just not up to it. That was my belief. That was the belief. People with a fixed mindset would have then said, decisions made, that's it, done. That person should move off the team. Instead, I sat down with this person and I said, you know, talked about the meetings, talked about what I was observing, and asked him, you know, why aren't you contributing? Leaders contribute. Leaders provide their perspective. Leaders provide insights. And he said, Luke, well, you never asked me. And in his culture, it was totally out of line to contribute unless he was asked to join. And so he was waiting there patiently, meeting after meeting after meeting. For this ignorant Anglo, you know, Freddie, what do you think about this? And so we had a laugh, and I said, well, how silly am I? And Freddie has probably been, over the last 15 months, the best contributor on that team. Because I started asking him, bringing him into the conversation, quietening some of the loud down, and this specific individual has knocked my socks off with regard to sort of my belief or my fixed mindset right back at the start. So I shared just one very real example of what I call just a growth mindset and knowing your unconscious bias. All right.
Thanks. That was. I mean, I thought I'd learn a lot by the time the presentation was over, but the Q&A was absolutely fantastic. So thank you for your questions, Luke. That was absolutely inspirational. And I'm going to thank you very briefly, but I know Emily and Denise, who arranged all of this, really should do the thank you. So thank you specialistly. So as I say, it was Denise and Emily who put in the hard work around this event, and Chartered Accountants, you know, acted as hosts. So I really wanted to introduce Emily and Denise to give a formal thank you to Luke, and thank you to all of you for coming.
Luke, thank you for giving us such an insightful speech. I think what has transpired in all of this is change. The world is changing, and you are either influence people or be influenced. That's my take for the night. As the CEO, we understand that the things you say and the words that you write carry quite a heavy weight. What we thought with that is, as a way to unwind, we would like to present you with a wine, a whiskey. Thank you. Finish up with a few credits, door prizes, so there are more prizes to come. Yep. Aruna or Sally, if you could bring up the door prizes, that would be fantastic. Now, along with Luke and PwC, we would like to thank a few other organisations. If any suggestions, please write them down. It will be considered for future events. So if you like the event, please let us know and we'll do something about it. We will make it happen.
So, as we finish, and you might have read or kind of skipped the last part of the invitation, we do have a networking drink session just downstairs at La Di Da. We have drinking cards at the back. So if you're feeling thirsty and want to and curious to meet new people, please come and join us. We'll be delighted. Thank you.